Welcome to First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, the birthplace of congregational humanism. We carry on that tradition of free thought today, dedicated to promoting a free search for truth, meaning, and justice. Our web address is firstunitarian.org. Thank you for joining us.
Gather up whatever is glittering in the gutter, whatever is broken, and stitch it back together. This would make a great children's storybook, a really wonderful fairy tale, right? I can even kind of imagine the illustrations, some little elfin being discovering and then carefully collecting all these glittering shards, inviting some friends to help, maybe then placing them, those broken bits, in a kind of rough-hewn pouch, and maybe all these hapless gatherers then plop down together under a tree in the moonlight, stitching them together to make what was broken whole again. And what makes this, in my mind, a potentially great children's story is that this is a universal human experience. Encountering brokenness and not knowing quite how to fix it. Seeing that it might be possible to stitch it together into something new is a message we all need to hear, especially when all seems lost and when things are seemingly broken beyond repair. In times such as these, we need a good story, one that comforts us, inspires us, draws us back into the work of repairing and healing ourselves and the world. Do you know that the stories we live our lives by, these stories, that the stories we tell are how we live our lives, that we live our lives because of the stories we tell about ourselves? The stories about how we got here, who we are, what we have, about the milieu we exist within, about what is possible. The stories we tell play a huge determining role in what comes next. So here's a story, a creation story that I expect you've heard. It comes from the Jewish tradition. Rachel Naomi Remen tells it this way. In the beginning, there was only the holy darkness, the Ein Sof, the source of life. And then in the course of history, at a moment in time, this world, the world of 1,000 things, emerged from the heart of the holy darkness as a great ray of light. And then, perhaps because this is a Jewish story, there was an accident. And the vessels containing the light of the world, the wholeness of the world, broke. And the wholeness of the world, the light of the world, was scattered into 1,000 fragments of light. And they fell into all events and all people, where they remain deeply hidden until this very day. Remen says that her grandfather told her that the whole human race exists because of this accident, that we are here because we are born with the capacity to find the hidden light, the glittering bits in all events and in all people, and to lift up that light and make it visible once again. This task in Hebrew is called tikkun olam, the restoration of the world. That's a pretty good story. It reminds us that we, each and every one of us, comes from a divine light source, that we're not whole without each other, and that we're tasked with finding the light in each other in order to stitch things together again. And though this is a very ancient story, it's a pretty radical one indeed. Frankly, we haven't been all that great at telling a story like this. Instead, we've told stories about personal gain and upward mobility and competition, survival of the fittest. We've told ourselves that if we work hard enough and accomplish enough, that there's some promised destination where we can finally arrive and we will all be safe and we'll all be well. And stories such as this tell us that some ways of being in the world are better than others, that there is an us and that there is a them, and ne'er the twain shall or even should meet. But isn't it interesting that, at least as far as I can think, there are no children's books that tell stories about going it alone and walking over everything and everyone else as one climbs to the top. And yet we keep telling these stories and believing them. And such stories have contributed to the divisiveness that's infected our society, breeding hatred and increasingly self-serving attitudes and behaviors. And such stories are crippling, full stop. We keep telling stories like this and we'll keep on destroying each other and our planet. So couldn't we just tell different stories? Here's one I love from my colleague Molly Hausch-Gordon. She says that rather than some idealized destination, the place we're going is just around the sun on a miracle of a planet. That the true story is that we are still alive in a world that is so beautiful and so brutal all at once and always has been. And it is drenched in meaning no matter where it's headed. And it matters that we love each other well and that we drink up the beauty and resist the brutality. This world is drenched in meaning and beauty, and our task is to drink it in while at the same time resisting the brutality. That's a great story. And like the story of the Ein Sof, it's a story that draws out the love and the gratitude and the light that lives within us. We need better stories. We need to use our imaginations. Walida Imarisha in Octavia's Brood, Science Fiction Stories from Social Justice Movements, says that, quote, "Whenever we try to envision a world without war, without violence, without prisons, without capitalism, we are engaging in speculative fiction," unquote. She says that all justice organizing is science fiction because it involves creating and envisioning another world or many other worlds where the arc is indeed always bending toward justice. If, she writes, our imagination is unshackled, then liberation is limitless. That our ancestors claimed for us the right to dream, and it is ours to do the hard work of sculpting reality from our dreams. I know that right now we are exhausted, despairing, maybe even hopeless. So many of you worked so hard on this election, writing letters, sending postcards, door knocking, acting as election judges, poll watchers. It's all too easy to feel those efforts are in vain, but they are not. Every act for love and justice is a stitch in the restoration of the world. I'd like to share with you the message from UUA President, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, that came out on Wednesday morning.
We gather on the morning after, in a time of great fear and devastation and very real risk to ourselves and our beloveds. There is so much that we cannot yet know, even if we know the shape and fear the character of our next governmental administration. We cannot fully know what is yet to come in this country. What I do know, beyond any reasonable doubt, is that we are a sanctuary people. We can make that claim from the powerful efforts of our elders in the middle of the 20th century through to our congregations and communities offering shelter to migrants today. Whether Harbor or Pink Haven, our homes, sanctuaries, and even our national headquarters model what it means to offer solidarity, shelter, and asylum in the face of what many of us cannot begin to imagine. These are times that will be defined by the continued and increased need for organizing and a faithful commitment to mutual aid. I want to invite us all back to what we learned in our earliest understandings of what humanity itself means. We draw our purpose from the call to honor and uphold the non negotiable sacredness of each and every person, of earth and of all beings, bound up together in an abiding love that rests in the call to justice. So many of us are afraid today, fearful for the safety of our loved ones, and overwhelmed by the public plans to deny basic human rights. I invite us to feel the reality of that concern and to hold one another in our grieving. I also want us to remember how very many others in our UU communities and across the nation share our values and prepared all the way through this election for what might be asked of us through the remainder of this month and beyond. Look to your community partners. Draw on all that you have learned through UU the Vote and other opportunities to work for electoral justice, and know that you are never alone. Your UUA will be with you this day and for all the days to come. We have been planning for this possibility and are here to offer best practices for safety, theology, spiritual practice, and communal care. We will rest in the strength of our covenants and bring that love, generosity, sacred witness, and values driven interdependence to bear as we work toward a future where our liberation is collective and all of our people count themselves whole. I love you. Let us keep working toward all that we hold most holy together. Amen. Ashe. And blessed be.
We are a sanctuary people, which is another great story because, as Reverend Betancourt said, we draw our purpose from the call to honor and uphold the non-negotiable sacredness of each and every person, of earth and all beings, bound up together in abiding love that rests in the call to justice. And that purpose doesn't change because of any election result. We're going to keep working toward a future where our liberation is collective and all of our people count themselves whole. In fact, you can help with telling a different story today. Our Trans Welcome team has identified a few urgent concrete actions needed to support some of our trans members and their extended trans family. And Caitlin Boley will be available outside the lower assembly hall and would welcome speaking to any cisgender folks who are able to help as early as this week. And if you're watching online and want to help, you can email me at minister@firstunitarian.org and I'll get you connected. We are a sanctuary faith, and collective liberation is a collective task. We go through the world together and helping one another gather up what glitters, wherever it lies, and then with the help of each other, to stitch it back together, that we may be whole even in our brokenness, even when we feel shattered. On Wednesday night, when about 40 people gathered here to mourn and hold one another, I shared this poem about stories. It's called On the Other Side and was written by Reverend Lynn Unger. Through the looking glass, down the rabbit hole, into the wardrobe, and out into the enchanted forest, where animals talk and danger lurks and nothing works quite the way it did before, you have fallen into a new story. It is possible that you are much bigger or smaller than you thought. It's possible to drown in the ocean of your own tears. It's possible that mysterious friends have armed you with magical weapons you don't yet understand, but which you will need to save your own life and the world. Everything here is foreign. Nothing quite makes sense. That's how it works. Don't confuse the beginning of the story with the end. This is not the end of the story. It's a new beginning. Although it's clear that danger lurks and things just don't make sense, we are here to save our own lives and the world, placing love at the center and telling and retelling stories about all that is possible together. So be it.
Thanks for listening. You can find much more about humanism and what's happening at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis by visiting our website at firstunitarian.org.